Pine Hollow. Even the name sent shivers down your spine. Locals whispered tales of the ancient forest. They spoke of whispers carried on the wind. They told of shadows that danced in the moonlight. Legend said an ancient tribe once called the woods home. They protected the forest with their lives. Then outsiders came. They wanted the forest's riches. The tribe refused. They fought back with a vengeance. But the outsiders were too strong. They overwhelmed the tribe. In their final moments, the tribe uttered a curse. They cursed the forest to forever trap those who sought to exploit it. Their spirits, intertwined with the trees, became the forest's eternal guardians. Over time, the whispers became warnings. They told of those who dared to enter and never left. But legends are just stories, or so they say. 4 friends, Mia, Alex, Erica and Jordan, stood at the edge of Pine Hollow. They were drawn to the mystery like moths to a flame. The whispers, the shadows, the curse, they were just stories. They were determined to prove it. They were determined to spend a weekend camping in the heart of Pine Hollow. They were determined to conquer their fear. They would regret it. "Are you sure about this?" Erica asked, her voice barely a whisper. The woods seemed to swallow sound. Even the sunlight struggled to penetrate the dense canopy. "Don't worry," Alex said, his voice overly loud. "It's just a forest. We have each other." He slung his backpack over his shoulder, his bravado a thin veil over his own unease. Mia, ever the adventurous one, grinned. "Exactly. We'll be fine. Just a bunch of scary stories to keep us entertained." But even her smile couldn't quite reach her eyes. Jordan, the quiet one, simply nodded. He hefted his own pack, his gaze fixed on the path ahead. He couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, like the forest itself was scrutinizing their every move. They made a pact. They would stick together. They would watch out for each other. They would prove that the stories were just stories. With a deep breath, they stepped into the woods. The trees seemed to close in behind them, like the forest was swallowing them whole. The first day passed without incident. They hiked, they laughed, they almost forgot where they were. Almost. But as the sun began to set, the shadows grew longer. The whispers seemed to grow louder. "Did you hear that?" Erica whispered, her eyes wide with fear. "Hear what?" Mia asked, trying to sound casual. "That whispering. It sounded like my name." Alex scoffed. "It's just the wind, Erica. Relax." They set up camp as darkness fell. The air grew heavy with dread. The whispers continued, weaving through the trees. They seemed to be all around them. That night, none of them slept well. They were plagued by nightmares, nightmares of shadowy figures and unseen eyes. Each time they closed their eyes, they heard the whispers, they saw the shadows. They felt a presence that watched them from the darkness. The next morning, they were all on edge. The whispers seemed louder, more insistent. They decided to explore, hoping to find a way out of the forest. But every path they took led them deeper into the woods. "We're lost," Erica whispered, her voice trembling. "We are really lost." "No, we're not," Mia said, but her voice lacked conviction. She, too, felt a growing sense of dread. The forest seemed different now, more menacing. As they rounded a bend in the path, they stumbled upon a clearing. In the center stood a dilapidated cabin. It was small, made of logs, with a roof partially caved in. The windows were boarded up. An air of decay and despair hung over the place. "What do you think?" Alex asked, his voice hushed. "I don't like it," Jordan said, his voice low and urgent. "Let's just go." But Mia's curiosity got the better of her. "Just a quick look," she said. "Maybe we can find something useful." She approached the cabin cautiously. The others exchanged uneasy glances but followed her. The door creaked ominously as she pushed it open. The interior was dark and dusty. Cobwebs hung from every corner. The air was thick with the smell of decay. They explored the cabin carefully, their footsteps echoing in the silence. Suddenly, Jordan called out, "Over here! I found something!" He was huddled in a corner, brushing dust off an old wooden chest. He lifted the lid, and inside they found a leather-bound journal. The pages were yellowed with age, the ink faded. Mia picked up the journal and began to read aloud. The words were written in a spidery script, difficult to decipher, but as she read, her voice grew hushed with horror. The journal belonged to a man who had lived in the woods many years ago. He wrote of the ancient tribe, the protectors who had cursed the forest. He wrote of the spirits that roamed the woods, trapping those who sought to harm the forest. He wrote of his own growing fear, of the whispers he heard, of the shadows that haunted him. "The spirits are real," he wrote on the last page. "They are angry. They will not let me leave. I can hear them whispering my name. They are coming for me." The journal slipped from Mia's grasp and fell to the floor with a thud. Her face was pale. Her eyes were wide with terror. "We need to leave," she whispered. "We need to leave now." They fled from the cabin as if the hounds of hell were on their heels. They didn't stop running until they reached the edge of the woods. But the woods were gone. "Where are we?" Erica whimpered, her voice trembling. Panic welled up in their chests. The familiar path had vanished. The trees seemed to press closer, their branches reaching out like grasping claws. The air grew colder, the whispers louder, more insistent. "We're trapped," Jordan said, his voice devoid of hope. He knew the legends were true. He could feel the presence of the protectors all around them, their anger palpable. Fear gnawed at their courage. They wandered for what felt like hours, their hope dwindling with each passing moment. The sun began to set, casting long, eerie shadows that danced and twisted, mocking their plight. The whispers grew into guttural chants surrounding them, suffocating them with terror. "We're never getting out of here," Alex said, his voice a mixture of fear and despair. He looked at Mia, his eyes pleading for her usual optimism. But even Mia had no words left. They were lost, and the forest had no intention of letting them go. They stumbled through the darkening woods, their fear a living, breathing entity that stalked them through the trees. Then, in the distance, they saw it, a figure, tall, shadowy, with eyes that glowed an eerie green. The figure moved towards them, its form shifting and swirling like smoke. The whispers intensified, becoming a chorus of voices, chanting, threatening. The friends huddled together, their hearts pounding in their chests. They were paralyzed by fear, unable to move, unable to breathe. The figure stopped in front of them, its eyes bored into their souls. It raised its arm and they could see it was holding something, a circle of stones, bound together by some unseen force. The chanting grew louder, more insistent. The figure lowered the circle to the ground. The friends instinctively knew that once the circle touched the ground, their fate would be sealed. They would be trapped in Pine Hollow forever, just like the spirits of the ancient tribe. Mia couldn't just stand there and let it happen. She wouldn't let the fear paralyze her. Gathering the last shreds of her courage, she lunged forward, pushing past the shadowy figure. "Mia, no!" Alex cried, reaching out to grab her. But it was too late. Mia reached the circle just as the figure began to lower it to the ground. With a desperate cry, she kicked out, connecting with the circle with all her might. The stones scattered, flying through the air like projectiles. The world went silent. The chanting ceased. The figure vanished, as if it had never existed. The shadows retreated, and the oppressive weight that had been crushing them lifted. The forest was still dark, still unsettling, but the malevolent presence was gone. They didn't waste a second. They ran, blindly, desperately, until they stumbled out of the woods, collapsing onto the familiar dirt road. They were safe, For now. They never spoke of that night, not to each other, not to anyone, but they could never forget the terror, the whispers, the shadowy figure. Pine Hollow held their fear captive, a chilling reminder of their brush with the supernatural. Weeks later, Mia received a package. There was no return address. Inside, nestled in tissue paper, was a single smooth stone. It was cold to the touch. As she stared at it, she could hear it. Faintly, at the edge of hearing, a whisper. Mia dropped the stone. It clattered to the floor, the sound echoing in the silence. She couldn't escape the feeling that Pine Hollow and its whispers would follow her forever.